these people thought that the walk was ruined for life.
Yeah.
You know, like they had hope in us, but like they were like, we fucked up.
Yeah.
I was like, you didn't. You did not fuck up.
Hey guys.
Hey.
Welcome back to Disney Channel.
You're watching our podcast.
Today we're going to talk about how long does it take?
Yes. We see that in the comments all the time where we'll do the nail trim and somebody's like, oh my God, how long did that take? I'm like 6 years. What the force-free agenda doesn't want you to know. A lifetime.
Well, I mean, it really is so, it's just very individual.
Yes.
I mean, you could go from a dog who's like needs full sedation to doing their nails in like one sitting. Mm-hmm. Here's the thing. I think people look at it improperly.
Yeah.
I think people look at it as how long did it take to complete that task? Mm-hmm. More so than like, how long did it take to get the dog compliant with you doing the task?
And comfortable with the task.
Yes.
Because everybody wants, like, if we're selling a picture, we want our dogs to look great when they're getting their nails done. We want them to not be stressed and be able to be, like, happy when those things are done.
Yes.
So
I mean, that's, of course, like, them, like, not being stressed during it is the end goal. But, like, maybe that's not realistic for every dog.
Yeah.
And also, along the way, that's not like the huge priority.
Yes. Yeah. So like in the time frame of a month, for example, like our board and trains are a month long. We had a board and train that was like awful for his nails, little brownie. You probably saw the reel. He was just a psycho, and it took 4 weeks of me consistently doing his nails. Not that I needed 4 weeks, but I did it every other day or so just to get him really comfortable, because he was so uncomfortable that he was just a psycho.
Yeah.
To flash forward now, we
oh, okay. Archie,
what do you have to say?
Archie, do you have something to add to the nail trim discussion?
Archie, I have to put you back down. Like, how long does it take to teach a bed stand?
You heard it here,
he's
folks.
so cute though. Like, oh my God.
He's
Bed. All 4 paws. Thank you. All right. Well, back to my point. I did the nails quite a bit because I knew that was a big issue for him, and we wanted to have the owner do it by the end or the send home. And we made a ton of progress. And at first, he did not like it. He was very stressed out. And I think we even posted that, and somebody in the comments was like, "That dog's so stressed getting his nails done." I know.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
To the end, he didn't
Thanks
love
for
his
stating
nails.
the obvious.
Yeah, like, but I did a follow-up with him the other day. I hadn't had the owner do his nails, and he was just like, all right.
Yeah.
Gotta get this done.
I think a lot of times people think we're stupid and that we don't see a dog that's stressed.
I know.
I'm not dumb. I know they're stressed. I just don't care.
And we're not trying to paint a picture that, like, everything's perfect and the dog is so happy. Like, sometimes there are stressful moments.
Sometimes they're not. And
Yeah.
that's okay. You don't need to be happy all the time.
Yeah.
I have a client that just started, and there's a video that I think they're going to put out of like our first lesson, and a 12-pound dog. Okay. So it's not like we're dealing with a behemoth here. A 12-pound dog that has been seeing a behaviorist, vet behaviorist, for the last year, because this dog has to be fully sedated for any grooming and any vet visits.
Sounds healthy for the organs.
And in a year, the vet behaviorist did not even once touch the dog.
I believe it.
Didn't even touch it.
Yeah.
No attempts. I'm like, no one just thought to just pick it up.
Yeah.
Just grab it. just grab it.
Put a muzzle on.
Yeah,
you know?
I put on welding gloves and
Yeah.
just grabbed it. She didn't like it.
Yeah.
By the end, we were chilling.
Yeah.
Jay chilling.
They have to realize that like temper tantrums, every time a temper tantrum works,
Yeah.
or every time we utilize a drug, that's a Band-Aid and it's not actually fixing the problem. In the moment, it may make the dog feel more comfortable and the vet staff feel more comfortable and you feel more comfortable. But how stressful to like
I know.
be drugged and just having to do that every single time rather than working through an issue.
It's astounding to me.
It is.
Stress isn't that bad, guys. Stress is good for us.
And there's a lot of ways that you can add stress just with like positive reinforcement and not exposing your dogs to a lot. And then when we go to expose them to things, it's like, holy shit, like I haven't done this ever before. So it's 10 times more stressful than if you had just done it in the first place and maybe taken the couple sessions of it being uncomfortable.
Yeah. And the best part about it is that the dog in that year of seeing the behaviorist and being on all those medications and never once touching the dog, it got worse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's not even like it just like plateaued. It got worse.
And if you have a dog that fights sedation, like that is really hard.
Yeah.
It's like very emotional and sad to see. And you're just like, why am I doing this? Mm-hmm. How could I get my dog to accept this? How could I do, what is it called? They call it
Cooperative care.
Cooperative care.
Yeah, that's what they had her doing. The click, the touch with the scissors and then click and treat.
Yeah.
And touch with the scissors and then click and treat. Just grab the dog. Mm-hmm. Just grab the thing. It'll be fine. And let it do its thing and then figure out that's not going to work anymore. Mm-hmm. And then I have them working on, they were already doing some muzzle training. They hadn't even like actually clasped the muzzle onto the dog's head because they were told not to do that and to just, go little by little by little.
Sure.
So I had them, that's what they're working on this week is just having the dog wear the muzzle for periods during the day. And then we're going to work more on it next time. But it's like, I don't see why it's so complicated.
Yeah. I think it's just people are making it too emotional and thinking that the dog is going to be somehow lifetime affected. But like, isn't your life affected by like, when you have to make a groom appointment, you're like, shit, like I have to call this vet and get this vet on board and make sure that the dog is sleeping and finding a groomer that will work with him when he's sedated. I wonder what their vet thinks about that. If they told their vet they're coming here.
I don't know. Their vet is the one who recommended the behaviorist.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling.
Or their behaviorist, what the behaviorist thinks. Like
that the behaviorist wouldn't even touch the dog.
Yeah.
That's wild to me.
Yeah.
Like, and at one point she even said, Paige, didn't she say that they were doing like virtual lessons? And she was like, what the heck is this going to do?
Yeah.
Looking at us through a screen.
Yeah.
You're not even here with the dog.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's crazy. It's absolutely bonkers to me.
I saw this post recently and it was like behaviorists are specially trained and very highly educated people that go to school.
They're a bunch of quacks.
Yeah.
They're a bunch of quacks.
And the person's point was to be like, you balance trainers, you stupid little idiots, you uneducated little swine. College, you know what that is? People went to it. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So, I mean, I guess the question of like, how long does that take? It depends on if you like know what you're doing or not.
Yeah. And being persistent, like obviously you're not going to have a huge turnaround about the dog's feeling about a nail trim or grooming or whatever you're working on the first session. It's going to be hard. It's going to be intense. And then you keep doing it and you keep showing up and you keep being persistent. And then the dog realizes they're not going to die.
And I also think about it as like, do I enjoy everything that I have to do in life? I hate going to the dentist. You will never make me like going to the dentist. Yeah. Do I have to go anyways? Yeah.
Yeah.
Do I still have to do all those things that I don't want to do? Yeah. And there's nothing like, so it's like with a dog, why do we care so much that they like it? That seems like a tall order and a pretty unattainable goal for a lot of things with a lot of dogs.
Yeah. To make them like everything and just like paint a picture that it's easy. And it's like owner shaming as well.
Yeah.
Because when they're given like, oh, you should never muzzle. You should never do this or that. And then they do. And they're like, am I a piece of shit for doing that? You're not. You know, you know your dog the best. And I wouldn't let a behaviorist tell you, you know, that you can't do X, Y, and Z without getting a second opinion.
Yeah. You can't go above the threshold.
Yeah. You're flooding.
Oh, no.
Pinback ears, whale eyes, tail at 45 degrees,
Lip licking.
yawning, stress yawning, displacement behavior.
Again, we're not stupid, guys. Like, I can tell when a dog is stressed. Again, the point is that sometimes I just don't care.
Yeah. Like, I think we posted that video of this Roddy, and he was like freaking out at the fence. Like, he worked himself up, slobbering, like, and panting. And somebody was like, you withheld water from that dog. No, the dog worked himself up into a frenzy and then got dry cotton mouth.
Yes.
And then guess what? He went into his crate and he got some water. Just like always, like I feel like they're always trying to find, like, catch us and like,
yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah, exactly. But that's not going to happen because I don't hide anything that I'm doing. Like, there's no gotcha moment because I'm not ashamed of it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, look at that. You made the dog stressed. Yeah, Deborah, I did.
Yeah.
That like that's part of the process.
Yeah. I mean, stress is going to happen at some point in your life, whether you avoid it and avoid it and avoid it, and then you go to the vet and you have this big, huge meltdown.
Yeah.
Rather than like every day practicing techniques that could help your dog feel better about the actual event happening. I think that's so much kinder, and it's so much less selfish of us to like be like, okay, this might suck for my dog for a little bit, but he's going to go home. He doesn't have to pay any bills. He doesn't have to worry about the mortgage. He knows where all his meals are coming from. He doesn't have to hunt. And he gets to sleep in a warm bed.
Yeah. Your dog lives a pretty fantastic life. The least they can do is not be an asshole.
Yes.
So
like, I want to be like, if there's a heaven, I want to be a dog that's like owned by like a really cool person.
yeah. Yeah, it's I don't know. I mean, I can't really answer that. How long did this take? Like, again, it's so different for every dog. I think that comments on a lot of like the reactive dogs, like before and afters and stuff. And it's like, I don't know. It depends. Like some dogs, it takes a little bit longer and more consistency and persistence with things to get like a full turnaround. Some dogs, it's like pretty darn quick.
Yes.
Depending on, and you don't know until like it happens.
Yeah. And it's allowed to be quick. It doesn't mean that the trainer is not skillful or the trainer is not having the best interest of your dog at heart. Some things are quick depending on the dog's personality. Like we got a Mal in today that was a freaking psycho in the lobby and gave him a couple of corrections. And guess what? He was like, oh, I'm not allowed to do that. And he calmed down completely. And yes, he's still learning and he's not perfect, but we stopped that really violent behavior that was escalating into like him biting his owners in a matter of like a couple of hours.
Yeah.
And he's going to be okay. He's going to finish strong. And now we have all this time to work on his confidence.
Yeah.
He's very confident already.
Well, like the lesson I was talking about, I mean, by the end of it, I was able to pick up all of her feet, could touch her, pick her up. And like, I mean, seemingly, I don't think anybody else has really just done that.
Yeah. I think when people have a dog that react like that, they kind of like...
Yes. Because she did the whole
Go back.
screaming thing. It sounds terrible. It's, you know, very dramatic. But, I mean, she's fine.
Yeah.
She's fine.
You have to be tough in this industry, and you have to be like, you have to mix your compassion with your toughness and be like, okay, I know I can push this. Or you have to know when, like, okay, like I'm going to stop here for today because I think that's a good place to stop.
Yeah.
Where we're not overwhelming the dog, and starting to like see what's best for the dog that you're training in front of you, rather than coming up with like a criteria that's going to be the same every time.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of times, so say we're doing like a dog that's like very touch sensitive. If you have a dog like this one where it's like, I mean, you even so much as like look like you're going to touch them and they freak out, you just have to kind of push through that initial threshold and get them to where they're not so actually insane and aggressive in those moments. But then typically what I like to do to work on that is I like to give them like, I like to push to where I can tell they're very uncomfortable, like right up to the biting threshold, and then pause right before and allow them the option to like make a good choice or a bad choice. And so like what I'll eventually do with that dog is mess with her to the point where I can tell she's like really kind of holding it in, and then just like pause and not push any further, but also not retreat, and let her choose. And if she chooses in that moment to walk away from me, I would allow her to do that for the time being.
Yeah.
Because with how severe her touch sensitivity was and the aggression surrounding it, it's kind of unrealistic to expect her to go from like wanting to kill me when I touch her to just simply accepting it.
And being like totally fine with it.
Yeah. So like if I can teach her avoidance first, then that would be great. So instead of trying to bite me, what if you just walked away?
Yeah.
You know, and worked on that. And then once she's very good at that and feels much better about it, then we can continue to push towards, okay, now you have to fully like tolerate it. So like there is a little bit more method to the madness. Like we're not just like willy-nilly jumping into this stuff. Like
e-collars blazing.
Yeah, no, I mean,
we love punishment. Like Zach George thinks like, we get
very
off on
like
it.
I'll use punishment with touch sensitivity at times, but honestly I don't have to a lot of the time. Like most of it is just negative reinforcement is what gets the point across. Because like if you stop trying to bite me and flailing, then I'll let you go. And that's what you want ultimately. So there's a lot more negative reinforcement involved in it than positive punishment, honestly.
I think like once you get past like out of the tunnel, you know, with some of that stuff, then you can, like we say, change the way that the dog feels about it. But when they aren't in that state of like, I'm going to die and I have to protect myself, they can start to relax a little bit, and then we can add positive reinforcement or food reward or praise and help them start to feel better about the action. Where it's not going to be this insane dramatic thing every single time. If it's that, then you're doing something wrong, you know? You've been seeing your behaviors for a year.
And it's like it's not like you can tell a dog like, hey, this is going to be fine. Like you have to show them. And you have to prove it to them.
This is just a nail trimmer. It's the Dremel 5300.
So it's like if you have a dog who's horrified of you holding their foot, and you just have to hold their foot until they realize that like nothing terrible actually is going to happen. Like you just have to prove it to them, and then do that a million times so that they're like, oh, this isn't that bad actually.
And sometimes you have to show the owners that nothing terrible is going to happen, and that it is workable and it can happen. It can be successful. And then they're like, oh, like maybe they didn't have the confidence to push through that alone, which is completely understandable. Hiring a professional is a great idea. But it can be upsetting at first to see things like that, because our dogs are acting like they're dying. And naturally, we're going to be like, oh, no. Fluffy is dying.
And they make terrible noises.
Yes.
Like, and I think, so even another example of like, how long did that take? Like with crate training, a lot of dogs, it can be similar where, like even with my puppy, like she was a fucking menace in the kennel when I first got her, making the most like unhinged sounds, like horrific, so unhappy, pissed off. And I just didn't care.
Yeah.
I said, wow, sucks for you. I think you'll be okay though.
Yeah.
And I just left her in there. And now, what's that I hear? Nothing. I hear nothing. Does she whine in it every once in a while sporadically? Yeah, but like nothing compared to like the guttural primal screaming. You know what I mean? Of like panic and just temper tantrum.
It's so sad, like that people kind of. It's not that they're allowing their dogs to live like that, but if you're like catering to every dog's whim of anything that they're scared of, I think that's really selfish. And you have to honestly look like, is this making me feel better or is this making the dog feel better?
Exactly. Because how long did that take me? 3 days. It was 3 days of dealing with her screaming, and then she got over it.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh,
yeah.
I guess this is not going to work. And I will tell you, like, from the time you get a puppy, if you do that and you put your foot down and you're like, you're not coming out, you're not sleeping in bed with me, I'm not doing this all day, you will go in your crate and you get them a good schedule. I've never had it not get better.
Yeah. It does get better.
It like always fixes itself and it always gets better. You just have to be willing to deal with it. And I get it. You know, people are like, oh, but my kids have to get sleep to go to school. Okay, buckle up. You guys all got the puppy. So have a family meeting. Sorry, guys. The next week's going to be rough for all of us. But I guarantee you we put up with it and it gets better. I mean, I told my husband, I said, sleep with headphones in. I don't know what to tell you. I put the puppy in the basement, let her scream it out. But like, you just have to do it. Because if you don't do it then, you will have to do it at some point. And the longer you wait, the worse it's going to get. Yeah. And the worse it's going to be.
Then they panic and then they freak out.
Yes.
Whereas if you do it as a puppy, yes, they're like having a little freak out moment, but it doesn't escalate to the point of like physical anxiety, drooling, making a mess of themselves, going potty in the crate constantly. My adult beagle, when I first got her, I trained, it took, I would say about 5-6 weeks for her to like be okay in the kennel.
Yeah.
And I was very consistent, but she would whine all the time and pace, like that phase that she went through.
Yep.
And it was so annoying. And then if she didn't do that, she'd poop or pee in the crate constantly. And she was a very difficult dog that had these habits ingrained in her because she was in a crate all the time. And I didn't look at that and say, oh, her past.
Yeah.
She was in a rabbit hutch and had puppies and didn't have a lot of room, so I'm never going to crate her. Sunday would eat my house.
She would eat you out of house and home.
Yes.
And then do it again.
Yes. One time she did get into all my Aldi groceries. Loaf of bread, devoured.
Probably within like 0.5 seconds too.
And then she had the audacity to poop in the house as well. When she escaped her kennel, I'll say.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, I would say, I don't know if we're actually going to try to give a time frame. Most of the dogs that I train in private lessons, like, are good by 10 weeks. Like in the 10 sessions, like we're good.
Yeah.
We don't have to do many other things. Occasionally I have a couple cases where we add on a few extra just to like really fine tune things. For the most part, 2.5 months. And like, the dogs are in a good spot. And I would say probably almost the same for you then, because if your board and train's a month, then your follow-ups that you do probably around the same, right?
Yeah. Like there were some times in the second follow-up, like I'm like, what do we work on? Because everything looks so good and I'm so happy with everything. And then sometimes people are like, well, let's save it for a little bit of time. And then we can revisit if they have gone inconsistent in the past couple of months or they need a little refresher. And that really works. Like your trainer should be able to show you results and not just be like, just be patient.
Yeah.
And in a year from now, you'll have a lot of results.
I think a key component in this is that you should see progress. And I think that that's an indicator. Like I will generally tell people, like, I can't tell you like, oh, like this is when it's going to be fixed or this is when it's, you're going to be where you want to be or whatever. It's more so like you know, if you're coming with a pretty severe behavior issue or something, like as long as we're continuing to see improvement and progress and it's getting easier and the dog is doing better and all this kind of stuff, that's really what I care about.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that's what's crazy is that, say these people that went to that vet behaviors for a year, they saw zero progress. And in fact, they said it even got a little bit worse. So I think that if you're with a good trainer who knows what they're doing and is able to help you, you will see progress.
Yes. Yeah. And if you're not, like, you need to start questioning things and saying, like, why are we doing this? What is your method behind this?
Yeah.
And if somebody can't explain that to you, then, you know, that's a red flag. But it's not like that we're so experienced and skilled and holy and above all these stupid dog owners that we know, like, so much better than everyone else. It's just that we have the patience and the experience to know that it's going to be okay.
Yeah. And I appreciate when there's people that recognize like their own limitations and what they're capable of as far as like dog training goes. And they don't just continue to like take people's money and scam them. And like, one of our kennel techs is doing lessons with me, and she had done some like group class training with her dog, and her dog was very reactive. And the people were basically like, your dog won't stop barking. Like, I guess just come like stand in the corner with her, but like, we're not going to charge you anything. And I'm like, at least they did that.
Yeah.
Like they were like, we don't know what to do for you. If you just want to like stand here and try things and exposure, that's great. But like, we're not going to take your money, which I respect that.
Yeah.
And then I actually just started lessons with clients that are coming all the way from Pennsylvania. They're driving all the way from Pennsylvania for private sessions.
That's great.
Which is pretty cool. They have 2 dogs that are getting into fights, and they have a trainer that they've been working with closer to them. And even that trainer was like, I don't know what to do with you. Like the dogs' obedience is impeccable. They're e-collar trained as far as their obedience goes and all that kind of stuff. But the behavioral aspect of things is like where they're really struggling. And I thought it was very cool that trainer was like honest with them. I'm like, this is kind of out of my scope. I don't feel like I can give you, you know, the help that you're looking for. So, I think it's awesome that they're driving all the way out here to be able to work with their dogs and everything. They're fantastic so far. But yeah, I think that hopefully your guys are able to find trainers who actually know what they're doing or are willing to admit that they can't help you.
Yeah.
Stories like that at least give me hope that like there's still some good people in the world.
Yeah. They're not everybody's trying to scam you.
Exactly. Yeah. Is there anything else you can think of in the line of how long did that take you?
Say like off leash is also another one that like people ask about a lot. And true off leash reliability, like I would say with my Beagle, I would say like a month to 2 months. And we did the training wheels of long line at different locations, different places, different trails. And we really refined. She was a big bunny chaser, big chipmunk chaser. And if I let her, she would be gone.
Yeah.
So now I feel really confident in her off-leash ability, even around small critters, because I know and I've practiced and put her in different situations where we don't just say come and after one recall session, we're like, okay, I'm going to unclip the leash. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I don't know. I'm trying to think with my dogs. I think mine's a little different because like all the dogs I have now, I had from the time they were young when I was already a dog trainer too. So they were just kind of like raised to be off leash. So there's not really like a pivotal moment I can really think of like, this is when I started the off leash training and this is when it ended. I mean, they were all at least off leash by the time they were a year old.
Yeah.
So like, yeah. It just kind of was like part of the curriculum, I suppose, that I like raised them in. But yeah, I mean, when you look at it, like 10-week session for all of my clients and the dogs are generally off leash reliable by the end of it. So a couple months.
I think there's also like a huge thing in the comments that people are like, I have this exact type of dog. How do I fix it? And I said, we always say, like, if in one comment could fix, if we could give you enough information, you need to hire a trainer. And those are the ways that you shouldn't expect a quick fix. Like, you can do it yourself. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes you can. If you're educated and you know what you're doing and you know what you're correcting for, if you're using corrections.
Yeah. I don't know. For me, like, obedience related things can be taught pretty universally. Like the same, you could tell somebody step by step how to train leash walking, and like they could do it. How to teach a sit stay, a bed stay, a down stay, whatever, recall even. But when you add in all the extra variables of personality of the dog, behavioral issues, potentially the reactivity, whatever it is, and can they take those skills and have the dog still execute them around the distractions or the triggers or whatever it might be, that's a different story.
Yeah.
And that's where it gets more convoluted, because it's like, I do different things with all of my clients.
Yeah.
Like the way that I teach things is so different depending on what kind of dog I'm working with and what kind of human I'm working with.
Exactly.
And
the
so,
relationship between dog and human, and if it's bleeding over into like the dog is reacting in their house and ruling their life, and they come to you because they're like, our walking is bad. Everything else is great in the house. And then you do that in home and you're like, Nancy.
Yeah. Yes. Well, and like even something as simple as like, if I'm teaching a bed stay, some dogs I just use prong pressure with. Some dogs I use continuous e-collar stim with. And it really like depends on like the owner, depends on the dog and what I think is going to work best. But like even just like the technical aspects of how to teach something can change dependent on the dog. Yeah. And that's just something I think that the more you work with dogs and the more you see and all that kind of stuff, the more natural, I guess it is to kind of devise like what their specific training plan is going to be. So it really just kind of varies.
Yeah. And that's like good about like reading humans and like getting experience working with people and knowing like what the vibes are. And you can sometimes tell if people are like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
And you can be like, how do you feel? Tell me, be honest.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, that was a little uncomfortable, and then you can explain and have a conversation rather than them being terrified to tell you that they didn't like the session or their questions. They have questions and they are too scared to ask you.
Yeah. And that brings up an interesting point of the like, how long does it take? Can also depend on the owner you're working with.
Yes.
Like maybe theoretically this dog could be, expedited and you could fly through this process. And then there's some owners where it's like, even though the dog could do it, like we cannot. Yes. We have to take this slower.
Yeah.
Whether it's they need to rebuild their trust in the dog and like there's so many dogs that I'm like, this dog is so ready to be off leash. And the owners are like, I would never. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. You just got to rebuild your confidence in the dog and whether you think they're trustworthy or not. So some of it has to do with the owner and like how they're feeling and how quickly you can move through things and stuff like that.
Yeah. I actually had a session last night, and these girls, these lovely ladies that have two dogs that were getting into fights with each other, and they're like, you're going to talk about us on your podcast, aren't you? And yes, I am, because I think you guys are doing a wonderful job. And particularly their little pitty Nala, they're very sensitive toward her, which I like. They do a vibe check. We do a vibe check after lessons. They're very sweet. They love their dogs, but they needed some work on being able to discipline their dogs. Yeah. And they're like joking with each other. They're like, well, you let the dog do this. And she's like, well, I saw you do that with the dog. And it's funny, like I enjoy that kind of banter between people and calling each other out playfully.
Yes. Yeah.
So we did a walk. The dog hadn't walked outside at board and training in the winter, so there was not a lot. The walk went sour. The dog was terrified. Every time they tried to walk her, she'd like auto down and stop moving. And they were like, our baby. And I was like, I understand. I love her too. And we met at Edgewater, and within like 5 minutes, the dog was like walking perfectly. And they're like, oh, it's just because you're here, Bridget. And I was like, no, you need to do this too.
Yes.
Because we want you to enjoy your life with your dog. And so we give them some homework. So ladies, if you're listening to this, I want to see Nala thriving on her walk.
Yes. And that happens a lot where like we show up and suddenly the dog is like on their best behavior. And typically that's because when we're around, whether it's I'm handling the dog and I'm on them, or whether it's in their only context of being around me or with me is they have to listen. They don't have the same emotional history with me that they do with the owners of blowing them off for years beforehand. The other thing too is that when I'm around, it's because we're doing a lesson and your focus is 100% on your dog. So yeah, you're on top of things. So the dog is like, okay, in this context, they're really on top of things. So what that tells me is that if your dog isn't like that when I'm not around, that means that you're not recreating the same level of consistency when I'm not there. Yeah. And that just proves that the dog is capable. So you just need to enforce that and hold them to that standard.
Yeah. I love that example. Like, the dog is capable. If your dog can do it with me, it can do it with you.
Exactly.
And people are like, but what? No, just you have to be consistent. You have to be able to be clear with your dogs. Clarity and motivation are the two biggest things in dog training that they just need to understand or be motivated by. And you can get a lot done. These people thought that the walk was ruined for life.
Yeah.
You know, like they had hope in us, but like they were like, we fucked up.
Yeah.
I was like, you didn't. You did not fuck up.
You can salvage it.
Yeah.
You can always get back on the wagon. But yeah. Thanks for hanging out with us, guys.
Yeah.
How long does that take? It takes as long as you want it to.
Yeah.
There's your answer.
Yeah.
You choose. If you have a 12-pound dog out there that doesn't let you do its nails, put on some thick gloves and just go pick it up. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
Pick it up and just do it. Just decide today's the day.
Today's the day you're going to stop letting your dog run and control your life.
Yes.
And spending thousands of dollars at the behaviorist that went to school because they're very educated.
People are really into boycotting things lately. I say we boycott vet behaviorists.
I say we boycott, behaviorists, purely positive people.
Zach George. Let's boycott Zach George.
Yeah.
Everyone go report his YouTube channel. Just kidding.
He's like, Miracle K9.
We're out to get him. Anywho, I hope you guys have a good week. We'll see you next time.